Hello and welcome to the garden for our week 13 full garden tour. This week we had a derecho come through. Didn't even know what that meant until this week. Basically it rained and straight line winds through here were upwards of like 70 miles an hour, which is really fast. And so I stood at the back door and watched the garden for probably an hour to make sure everything was okay. Most things were fine. I did have to tie up some tomato plants, and I also did a lot of branch cutting on the tomatoes. So when you see them, don't panic. They don't look as good as they once did. So I'm excited to show you what's going on out here this week. So let's get started. All right, so first things first, this ghost cherry is gone. This black seaman though did not fall over, which makes me very happy. It's doing really well. I've had blight issues with the rest of my tomatoes, but this one is like totally fine. So that's good. There are quite a few tomatoes on it still that are not quite ripe, or they're not ripe at all actually. They're like totally green. So I don't know. Every tomato I pick off this plant has been super cracked, but I don't know if it's just, if it's super crack prone or if it's the, I don't know. Down here in our bean patch, most of our little baby bush beans have come up. I can't tell you which one is which. I planted Cantaloupe and Blue Lake Bush. And I don't know which one is which, so good job, self. This is the Royal Burgundy beans. I am leaving these at this point to harvest seeds from. So once those are nice and dry, I'll harvest those seeds. Look at this. This is just insane and I love it. So this is a situation that's happening. I pretty much have no path at this point because these strawberries have just, like, they're over next to this tomato plant. Like, this is insane. I just, okay, so let me push through here. And let's do peppers first, because these pepper plants are blowing my mind. This is a row of Craig's Grande jalapenos. I have 5 plants. They are loaded with jalapenos right now. And I came out last night and picked probably, I don't know, a handful, 5, 6, maybe more than that. And they are just still loaded with jalapenos. And then the pepperoncinis are kind of the same. Look at all those peppers down there. And then this is the cayenne. There's one turning red down there. And our chocolate beauty is right here. I actually picked one of these the other day. It was not fully brown, but it had a little bit of sun scald, so I went ahead and just pulled it off the plant. And then over here, this is a row of Keystone resistant giant bell. So these are sweet bells. And this one weird plant is still weird. The peppers are like super long. Like, why? The rest of them are totally normal though. I did pick the red one this week and it was delicious. This is the plant that the red one came off of, and it has a few yellow leaves on it. It does have some baby peppers up here though. So we'll see what happens. We've had a ton of rain in the last week. And so the peppers are kind of like, no more. Now, you see this. This is all tomato branches that had blight. Blight has definitely set in for me in a pretty big way. I will show you the tomato plants in a second, and you will be maybe a little freaked out. So here's the San Marzano. You'll notice there's really no leaves until like up here. But look at all these tomatoes. This plant goes all the way over here. Like, how, this thing is just crazy. A lot of these are almost ready to come off. A lot of them this year have weird damage on them. And I don't know why. I never had this problem last year. So I don't know. This is the Cherokee Purple. This one did not have as much blight, but also the plant's not as big. There are, well, I don't know if these are Cherokee Purples or not. I think they are. maybe. And then this monstrosity is the pineapple. This one had blight pretty bad. You'll see there's tons of leaves missing, but there's still tons of fruit on this plant. So I try not to lose my plants until most of the fruit is off, obviously, because that's just wasted food. And then the Brandywine Black really is fine. It's doing okay. There are a couple bigger tomatoes back there on it. This plant I'm not super impressed with. I don't know if I'll grow it again. The pink oxheart looks, it's literally just one stick with some leaves at the top. It is doing not great. I've picked a couple tomatoes off of this that are pretty decent size, but I don't know if I'll grow this again or not. The Blonde Girl Cherry had a pretty big amount of blight on it. I did cut most of it off. There was a few yellow leaves left, but it's still, there's still fruit turning yellow. It's still setting fruit. So I'm just gonna leave it. The triple crop, again, had quite a bit of blight. I cut it all off, or cut most of it off. There's still some. I did pick a couple of these. There's another one down there that looks almost ready. These are pretty good. They have like that classic red tomato taste. So I may grow this again. I'm not sure. And then our Thorburns Terracotta, it has a bunch of dead leaves down here. I didn't necessarily cut those off. I was focusing on yellow leaves, but there's one here that's starting to turn. I did pick one last night. And then our Chianti Rose is kind of, it's here, and it is, yeah, it's struggling with blight. But it does have some fruit on it, and yeah, so we'll see what happens. And then these two are the Kellogg's Breakfast. Again, really had to come in and trim stuff. There are a couple turning though, so that's super exciting. These are so good. Those down there are starting to blush. This is the large red cherry. I really didn't cut much off of this because I just don't really care about it, to be completely honest. These are the two Aunt Ruby's German Green, and if I pan down like this, there's no branches. It's only the stem. So, but up here, these look really good. They are setting more fruit. This one is the last big one left on the plant, and it is, yeah, that's ripe. I could pick that. This Sweet Scarlet Dwarf down here actually finally has a tomato on it, so that's super exciting. And the Amish Paste, again, I had to cut a bunch of branches off. There's a few on here that are blushing, so that's good. And then we have the Carbon is in here. It's doing pretty well. Like I said with the other plants, there's a few dead leaves, but nothing, there's not really any blight. It has some new fruits on it back there, so that's fun. And then there's this monster. This is the Ghost Cherry. I came out and tied a bunch of stuff up last night, and I spent probably 15 minutes tying this bad boy to the trellis. It kind of goes like this. It has blight, but it is loaded with tomatoes. And then the Costoluto Genovese, some yellow down here, but it has a ton of tomatoes on it. I didn't realize how many it had. There's some down there, there, back there. Like, look at all those. A couple back there. I had no tomatoes on this plant, and now it's loaded. So I'm pretty stoked. All right, let's get a view of this beauty. And also there's a huge bean right there that needs picked. That's a purple potted pole bean. This purple potted bean has just, it's taken over this whole area. I love it. So here are my teddy bear sunflowers. Look at these. They have their heads. They should be blooming pretty soon, I think. I mean, they're headed up. Now if we look down in here, the purple potted pole beans and the rattlesnake pole beans are absolutely kicking butt. I have picked so many beans in the last like 3 days that it is insane. These beans are so good. Both varieties I will for sure grow again. I think what I'm gonna do next year is do this whole side of pole beans and then do this whole side of cucumbers. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So these cantaloupes, these Minnesota midget cantaloupes, I picked the first one the other night. Well, I didn't pick it, it fell off and I just brought it in the house. I ate it for breakfast yesterday morning, and it was not very good. So I think I'm not gonna grow cantaloupes anymore, because the last couple years they just haven't been worth it. Watermelons may end up being the same way. I don't know. This one is really weird. It's kind of like lumpy. I don't know why it's lumpy, but it is. So I don't know. I don't know. And then this big boy is still growing. Like, here's my hand. Like, I have small hands, but like there's my hand. And then also I noticed this little baby up here. So there's another watermelon growing. There was another one kind of over here. I had to pull it off because it did not get fully pollinated, and so it kind of just like rotted, which was fun. Over here, this is the Green Dragon Burpless cucumber, and there's one on here. It's funny that I'm excited for one cucumber when last year I had like 100,000 million cucumbers. And then here's our muncher plant. There's one right there. And then, oh, actually, hello. I didn't know you were here. Well, that's definitely not a muncher, but it's not like yellow. This is a pretty decent sized cucumber. Okay, well, I'll take that in the house with me. I didn't even know that was out here. Well, this is what cucumbers do. This is another muncher. It fell over in the storm and I haven't picked it back up. This tub though is doing really well. All my dill I put out here is doing really well, and then I have a bunch of lettuce in here, and like that looks like a kale. So that's exciting. Like, this is pretty big lettuce. I'm gonna grow these and just see how big I can get them before I harvest, which is why I haven't harvested any of these yet. And then over here, last but not least, is the Kentucky Wonder pole beans. They are starting to climb and meet with their friends, the purple potted beans. So more beans are a-coming. All right, so that was our week 13 full garden tour. We are dwindling down on our summer garden tours. I am in the fall transition mode at this point. So hopefully by next week's garden tour, things will be different out here and I will have new things to show you. I have a bunch of kale started in the basement along with some dill and some cilantro. So that's exciting. I am also going to be planting some bunching onions, just like green onions, scallions, whatever, and some peas. So looking forward to that. So me and this definitely not muncher cucumber are gonna head inside. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.